just need to go back for a moment to show you more of how I feel like I was being set up. After I turned myself into the state police and had gotten out on bail, 4 days later, a couple of weeks after Steve Greenberg, my lawyer at the time, came to the Trump Tower to meet with me. He had an offer on the table from the state prosecutors. Steve said to me that the prosecutors offered me a year in prison, and I said, a year for what? What did I do? Then Steve said to me, that is a great deal. And he could even get the prosecutors to take off the sex offender part. Then Steve Greenberg told me that the prosecutors said that if I didn't take the deal, they were going to bring new charges against me. And I asked, what do you mean new charges? And Steve Greenberg said to me that the prosecutors said that they have a 12-year-old girl that I would fly back and forth from Detroit to Chicago at the time to have sex with. I got so mad when Steve Greenberg told me that because, for one, it was not true. And for two, how in the hell am I going to fly a 12-year-old from Detroit, Michigan, back and forth to Chicago? And who the hell is going to allow that 12-year-old girl to get on the plane in Detroit and come see me in Chicago? And where in the hell are her parents? It sounds so made up, man, that I told Steve Greenberg to tell a prosecutor to bring it on. Not only have I been lied on, and now I feel like I'm being law bullied and blackmailed by the prosecutors. Even though Steve tried to convince me to take the deal, spend a year in state prison, I continue to tell him no. Because I knew even back then that I was being set up to be railroaded. And now I believe Steve Greenberg knew that as well. And even if I would have taken that deal for 1 year in state prison, guess what would have happened? I would have walked right out of the prison a year later, and the feds would have been right there to pick me up and take me straight to federal jail, where they would have charged me for who knows what. Because I would have accepted the state deal by pleading guilty on something I didn't do, or a case that I had already been acquitted of. And Steve Greenberg knew that because he is a damn lawyer. Anyway, after they planned to get me to take a deal, didn't work. Then, along with Kim Foxx and Surviving R. Kelly and the Me Too movement, I ended up being arrested in federal jail without bond. But here is where I felt another part of the setup. 6 or 7 months later, after I had been arrested and was locked up at the MCC in Chicago, Steve Greenberg, my attorney at the time, had come to meet with me. And while he was going over the case with me, I randomly asked Steve Greenberg, yo, what happened to this 12-year-old girl that I was supposed to have been flying from Detroit back and forth to Chicago? And Steve Greenberg said to me, after he paused, and without even looking at me, oh, they never called me back. And then he quickly changed the conversation. Weird. Even though I didn't say anything further about it to Steve Greenberg at the time, I remember saying to myself that if the state prosecutors really had a 12-year-old girl who they claimed I was flying back and forth from Detroit to Chicago, then why would they even offer me just 1 year in jail? When a 12-year-old coming back and forth to see me is game over. Truth is, there was no 12-year-old girl. And if there was, and I was flying her across state lines, that's automatically a federal crime, in which we're talking about 15 to 20 years in prison. So why would a state prosecutor be talking to me or trying to make me take a deal with me to cop out to a year in prison when they would have just turned it over to the feds and my life would have been over? I hope you get this and understand how they were trying to set me up way in the beginning. And after one thing didn't work, they kept trying and trying until they figured out how they could create it until it's so unrecognizable that the public doesn't notice it. Once they bring me to the feds, they would have to have a fake, legitimate reason to hold me there without being able to bond out. And that's why the government hit me with the RICO charge. Because a RICO is one of the biggest charge that anyone can be charged with in the Fed. And it's also one of the hardest charges to beat. And the government needed to charge me with a RICO so that when they deny me bail, it would look justified. And that's why all of my rights and due process being violated won't look so obvious in the public eye. Which the government knew that if they did that, it could have caused protesting, people advocating for me, other celebrities speaking out on my behalf. The government knew that if the public caught on to what they were doing, it could have caused a lot of drama, which seems to be one of the biggest things the government was afraid of, especially during the times where you have the Black Lives Matter movement, George Floyd incident, Breonna Taylor, and just a lot of black on brown men being targeted during the time of my arrest. Because when people see the truth of what the government or any form of the justice system abuse their power and take someone down, whether by killing them, falsely arresting them, or falsely convicting them, there's a big chance that a massive amount of people are going to take to the streets and protest. And that protest can just get out of hand. Or in order for that not to happen, in my case, the prosecutors will do anything to continue to keep me in here, silence me while they continue to make me look like a monster to the world, and further bury me right along with my truth. I'm scared. I am not trying to be the smartest guy in the world or act like I know it all. I just know my story. Just like you or anybody else know their story. I'm not trying to outsmart the prosecutors on my case, nor the federal government. I know how intelligent they are. They go to school for years and years to learn how to do what they do and have all the resources to back them up. But all the schooling, all the resources in the world can never be common sense and the truth. And because the government has neglected common sense and totally hid the truth in my case, clearly shows that the prosecutors and the government has misused their power on every level concerning my case. And it's because of that undisputed fact that I was arrested, convicted, and now staring down the barrel of spending the rest of my life in federal prison. Pray for me, because I can't breathe.
We here now. Damn, I wish I was pushing the act. Damn, I wish I was pushing the act. Damn, I wish I was pushing the act. I had no haps if I was pushing the act.